Hi, it's Marianne to talk about Scripture, and today we're in April 2nd, and the reading is Deuteronomy 21:22 through 23, Luke 9:51 through 56, and Psalm 74. And once again, we see Jesus in the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Psalm for today. So let's read what Moses has to say about Jesus when he's talking to the children of Israel, as he again is giving them instructions as to how to live once they go into the promised land. So starting in verse 22, "And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is accursed of God, that thy land be not defiled, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance." So Moses is telling the children of Israel that if someone does something worthy of death and they are hung on a tree, that they are to be taken down and buried that same day, so that the land be not defiled. And Jesus, when he came along to hang himself on the tree and become accursed on our behalf, for he was accursed. He took on the sin of the whole world. He took my sin, your sin, the sin of the world upon himself. You cannot get more accursed than that. And then once it was finished, he was taken down and he was buried the same day. So he followed the letter of the law, so that process, that legal process of him taking our penalty upon himself for our benefit, that we be no longer defiled. It's just an amazing concept. And Moses, although he was talking about how the children of Israel should deal with people who deserve that death, it most certainly and primarily applied to Jesus when he would come and make himself worthy of death because of the sin he took upon himself, even though in his natural and supernatural state was not worthy of death. He was perfect in every way and did not deserve it. But we are beyond blessed that we have such a loving God. He would do that for us. So now we're going to look in the New Testament in Luke 9:51 through 56 to show how Jesus is a God who came to save and not destroy. "And it came to pass, when the time was come that he, Jesus, should be received up, he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face, and they went and entered into a village of the Samaritans to make ready for him. And they did not receive him, because his face was as though he would go to Jerusalem. And when his disciples James and John saw this, they said, Lord, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, even as Elias did? But he turned and rebuked them, and said, Ye know not what manner of spirit ye are of. For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them." So here he is talking to his disciples, who are very eager to defend him. And he's telling them, no, you don't understand. I don't need to be defended. I came to lay my life down on the tree to be accursed, that you may live, and so that the Samaritans may live too, if they choose me. So now we go to Psalm 74, verse 1. "O God, why hast thou cast us off forever? Why doth thine anger smoke against the sheep of thy pasture? Remember thy congregation which thou purchased of old, the rod of thine inheritance which thou hast redeemed, this Mount Zion wherein thou hast dwelt. Lift up thy feet unto the perpetual desolations, even all that the enemy hath done wickedly in the sanctuary. Thine enemies roar in the midst of thy congregation. They set up their ensigns for signs. A man was famous according as he had lifted up axes upon the thick trees. But now they break down the carved work thereof at once with axes and hammers. They have cast fire into thy sanctuary. They have defiled by casting down the dwelling place of thy name to the ground. They said in their hearts, let us destroy them together. They have burned up all the synagogues of God in the land. We see not our signs. There is no more any prophet, neither is there among us any that knoweth how long. O God, how long shall the adversary reproach? Shall the enemy blaspheme thy name forever? Why withdrawest thou thy hand? Even thy right hand, pluck it out of thy bosom, for God is my King of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. Thou didst divide the sea by thy strength. Thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the waters. Thou breakest the heads of the Leviathan in pieces, and gavest him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness. Thou didst cleave the fountain and the flood. Thou driest up mighty rivers. The day is thine, the night also is thine. Thou hast prepared the light and the sun. Thou hast set all the borders of the earth. Thou hast made summer and winter. Remember this, that the enemy hath reproached, O Lord, and that the foolish people have blasphemed thy name. O deliver not the soul of thy turtle dove into the multitude of the wicked. Forget not the congregation of thy poor forever. Have respect unto the covenant, for the dark places of the earth are full of the habitations of cruelty. O let not the oppressed return ashamed. Let the poor and needy praise thy name. Arise, O God, plead thy own cause. Remember how the foolish man reproacheth thee daily. Forget not the voice of thine enemies. The tumult of those that rise up against thee increaseth continually. So this psalmist, it's Asaph, and he is lamenting the fact that the Lord's enemies are enemies against his people, and that they are continually persecuted, and they are continually suffering from their own sin, as well as under the persecution of their enemies. And Asaph is asking the Lord to remember the covenant that the Lord had with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to come to their rescue and put an end to the endless trouble that Israel's enemies perpetuate against them. This verse here is a confirmation of what we just read in the Old Testament and in the New Testament regarding the nature of our King. It says, for God is my King of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. He hung himself on the tree to come to save not just mankind, but the earth itself and its creation. Well, we know that the Lord will remember them, that he does remember them, that they are constantly on his mind. And we know that also they will have to go through a time of tribulation, Jacob's trouble, but at the end of that time, he will set them in their land permanently and deliver them from their enemies. We too have been delivered from our enemies, death and sin, which no longer have a sting for us because we have the promise of the kingdom. We get to partake of those promises made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that we get grafted in spiritually, that we may dwell with the Lord forever. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.